Hi guys, it's Eric from the Clef-er Musicians, and I just watched Aaron's video. I don't know how I can't catch up on my work after watching a video like that, so thank you, Aaron, for the motivation. Um, so I'm here to address a few questions because you haven't heard from me in a while, because I've been lazy. Um, so Getty's question from week 6 was, how do you feel when you meet famous musicians and they turn out to be really nice or really mean? This is an interesting question, and based off of Getty's experience, he said that he met a lot of saxophone players from NASA, and a few of them turned out to be really nice, which only increased his respect for them, and a few of them turned out to be really mean, which caused him to not want to listen to their music at all. Like a lot of people who have answered, I myself have not really met too many famous trumpet players, or musicians for that matter. I mean, I've met a lot that are pretty well known, but hardly any that can be called famous. Um, the few that I have met that would probably be classified as famous are Stephen Burns and basically the entire Martin family. And when I say the entire Martin family, I mean Chris Martin, Michael Martin, and Freddie Martin. So starting off with Stephen Burns, I used to go to the Merit School of Music. You probably know that because I've mentioned it in a lot of videos. And Stephen Burns was a routine guest at the school, um, and I guess my impression of him from a personality perspective was that yeah, he was a nice guy. He was neither super nice and he wasn't mean. I mean, there was hardly anything mean about him. But I guess like the first impression I got of him was not that like, oh, this is such a nice and friendly guy. This is like the first impression I got of him was like, wow, this guy is insanely good, and I could probably never be as good as him. But so yeah, there's that example. Probably a better example would be the Martin family. I met Chris Martin when he actually came here in October, I believe. I think it was October 7th. He gave a master class, and that, of course, was unbelievable. Again, he didn't really strike me as being like a super nice guy, like the kind of people that Getty was describing in his video. Like the kind of saxophone players that Getty was describing seemed to be like saints. But Chris Martin was, just a very friendly guy. He didn't really have an ego, which I know that's the stereotypical trumpet attitude that we carry with us. Chris Martin had no ego. He was very glad to help us out. He had a great sense of humor, a really, really good sense of humor. And I was able to work with his brother and his father, um, Michael Martin and Freddie Martin, at a few Cavaliers camps. I Michael Martin has only been at a few, but I'm pretty sure Freddie Martin, their father, has been at almost every one. Um, and again, they were not mean at all, and they weren't overly nice. So, seeing as how those are the only musicians I've met who can be called like famous on sort of a national or maybe even a global scale in some instances, I would say that the impression that I got would be that it helped me to understand that like just because you're an amazing musician doesn't mean that you need to have an ego about you. And I have met some musicians that Getty was describing. Those who think like, oh well, we're such and since we hold that title, everyone else is beneath us, or like everybody else, somehow owes us something. We don't owe them anything. And if I were to ever meet a musician like that, then yeah, that would be a complete turn off to both them and the music that they're trying to play. But since I've been fortunate enough to meet these famous musicians that are, decent people, and they're quite humble, and they care far more about the music than any kind of fame or any kind of glory that they might receive, it helps me to appreciate their music, and it also helps me to appreciate them, and the concept that you don't have to be uh, a jerk about things. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean that you have to be mean about it or carry yourself around on a pedestal, as if you're better than everybody else just because you can blow air through a horn, better than everybody else. So yeah, um, like I said, I have some catching up to do, so there will be a new video coming very soon in which I'll answer Aaron's question, and I will see you then.